So kindly share your personal reminiscences with His Grace Dr. Paulos Ma Gregorius.
Good evening, Achan. Thank you very much indeed for asking me to join this program. I wish to make it very clear that I'm a very ordinary person. I'm not a theologian, no background in theology, nor am I a philosopher of any sort. But I had the great blessings to be associated with Rimeni on various counts. That was purely a matter of blessing. It's not based on my merit anyway, I know that. I got in touch with Gregorius Rimeni in the early 1970s. I joined CMS College as a teacher in 1971, and I was staying in the MGOCSM Student Center at that time for almost 5 years. And naturally, MGOCSM had several things to do with Rimeni. And I used to shuttle between MGOCSM and Rimeni to arrange various things, look into various things, and so on. That developed into a friendship. In the early 1970s, MGOCSM was strongly trying to expand its horizons. So we were constructing a new student center in Trivandrum, MGOCSM Student Center in Trivandrum. Beyond Kottayam, a new one. And the new center was inaugurated in 1975. So to celebrate this occasion, we thought of publishing a souvenir, MGOCSM's Trivandrum Student Center souvenir. We requested Gregorius Rimeni to be the chief editor of the souvenir. Rimeni made it clear Rimeni doesn't have that much of time to spend for this. But if I can take over the responsibility, Rimeni will gladly help. So made it very clear that I have to do the work, but then we will sit down sometime together and finalize the matter. So that's how that gave me opportunity for me to sit with Rimeni, talk to him, discuss some of these papers which came and so on. That was really a great learning experience for me. And I wrote a paper for the seminar, for that souvenir, Choice of Life and Death, New Problems in Bioethics. So these type of thinking was slowly developing during those days. And Rimeni liked the paper very much and asked me how I developed an interest in such an area. And that was probably the beginning of a very fruitful relationship. The souvenir came out very, very well. Rimeni said, look, when you write something, you should be careful about two things. There should be clarity of your thought. And nobody has the whole time to listen to you or to read your article. Be brief. So clarity of thought and brevity of expression, these are two things which Rimeni told me and which I try to follow in my life. 1976, we got married and we were staying very close to the seminary. 1978, we were offered an ecumenical scholarship for doctoral studies in Germany. So Rimeni was very much in the know of it. So I still remember with great warmth, on the eve of our departure from Kottayam to Germany, Rimeni sent a shemashin to us around noon to meet Rimeni after Sandhya Namaskaram in the seminary in the court. So we went there, met Rimeni. Rimeni doesn't have small talk. He doesn't entertain small talk also. When we reached there, Rimeni said, yeah, so you're leaving tomorrow. That's fine. God bless you and all. Then he caught hold of my hand and said, Annie was my wife. We went together, our hands, and together, and said, look, if you want to beat the Germans in some way, it's only through your scholarship. Nothing else matters. So you're going for your doctoral studies. Keep that in mind, that you're an Orthodox Christian, you are from India, you have a great heritage. All that doesn't matter at all. You can impress them. You can beat them only with your intellect, your scholarship. So this we kept as a burning flame in our minds all through our 5 years in Germany. We had several opportunities to meet Trimeni, mostly for WCC consultations in different parts of Europe. So that was a time when the World Council of Churches was interested in the recombinant DNA technology related issues. So there were frequent consultations in different parts of Europe, most of which Trimeni asked me to join. So that was a great, great learning experience for me, for us anyway. And after 5 years of studies, we finished our doctoral studies. And my thesis was graded as excellent with the grade summa cum laude. That's the highest academic honor a university can grade a thesis with. And Thirumeni was extremely pleased that we made use of our time properly and did our studies well. Our children, Susan and Cyril, they were also quite attached to Trimeni. We used to meet frequently in Germany, in Europe. So this relationship continued with the children even after we came. We were staying very close to the seminary. And once in the seminary, Trimeni was burdened with all sorts of responsibilities, and time was always a problem. So we were always hesitant to go to Trimeni for anything which was not absolutely necessary. And once he asked us, why don't you come these days? So I said, look, Trimeni, we don't want to disturb you. Okay, you don't probably want to disturb me, but I want to see Susan and Cyril. They have always permission to come to me. And we used to visit Trimeni in Trimeni's room once in a while. Every time the 10 minutes, 15 minutes we spent with Trimeni was a great learning experience, not only for us, but also for the children. The children also valued this friendship with Trimeni really very much. So, Acha, I think one more small thing I want to speak in this context. Once we were sitting with Trimeni in Trimeni's room, and there was a beautiful icon. The three of us, my children and I, we were seeing an icon for the first time. Okay, in Germany, we were mostly under Protestant institutions and so on. We never had an opportunity to see a proper icon. So our daughter or son, I don't remember with whom, asked Tirumeni, Tirumeni, what is this? What is this? They asked in all innocence, what is this photo? Tirumeni said, look, that is not a photo. That is an icon. And they explained so beautifully what an icon means. Tirumeni asked our son, when do we normally put an elder person's photo on the wall? And they answered correctly, when he is no more. So Tirumeni said, look, a photo, when you put a photo of someone on the wall, that denotes an absence. The person is no more with you. Whereas an icon is the presence, the living presence of God with you. And look, this was, again, something really enlightening to the children also. They also developed an interest. Their houses now, they all have icons, and they respect and value what Tirumeni told them. Just by the way, but I thought I should share this with you because Tirumeni was so fond of children and told them good things which they would never forget. Thank you, Acha.
As a student of genetics, in what ways Tirumeni has influenced your thought patterns?
Acha, I was a student of genetics all my life, in a way. I taught genetics in the college. We did our doctoral studies in genetics, plant breeding, went into molecular biology. So during the 1970s, the period which we speak about, the late 1970s, as I told you earlier, the recombinant DNA technology was picking up in a big way. And there were lots of issues related around the recombinant DNA technology and the application of recombinant DNA technology to manipulate life. So this was something very dear to Tirumani, the whole issue. So Tirumani used to ask, what makes a man what he is? ഒരു മനുഷ്യനെ മനുഷ്യനാക്കുന്നത് എന്താണ്? Is it his nature, his genes, or is it the nurture, your surroundings, your background, your environment? There were clearly two schools of thought at that time. One saying very clearly, you are what you are because of your genes, because of the genes you inherited from your parents. And the other school held very clearly, you are what you are because of your environment. You are a priest because you had an opportunity to attend the seminary, and you went to a good seminary, and you had good teachers, and you developed your spiritual background like that. You are what you are because you are nurture. So these schools, two schools, were quite strong and sort of fighting with each other. And the whole problem was at that time stated as nature versus nurture, which meant you could either stand with nature or with nurture. As a scientist, one would say you are what you are because of the genes you inherited from your parents. As a pastor, as a priest, from somebody from the religious background, so you are what you are because your family, because your parents' prayers for you, because of your Sunday school, because of your youth league, because of NGOsism, because of your parish, all those things. Then both are right. So Tirumeni made a stand. It is not nature versus nurture. It is nature and nurture. And Tirumeni had lots of points to substantiate both these things. And as I told you, the World Council of Churches was also really involved, interested in this debate, nature versus nurture. Several meetings were held in different parts of the world to discuss different aspects of the thing. The World Council of Churches published during those days, very important, a landmark, I would say, it's Genetics and the Quality of Life. I still remember I learned it almost like a textbook. I was in Geneva for a meeting. So this book was edited by Paul Abrecht. I am not sure whether you know the name. Dr. Paul Abrecht was the secretary of the Church and Society Division, very good friend of Tirumeni and good friend of ours. Paul Abrecht edited this, and Tirumeni wrote articles in it. And this book, Genetics and the Quality of Life, looked into various aspects of nature and nurture, and help people to understand both sides in a better way, rather than standing for one and saying the other is not true. Around this time, there was also a big question about the problems, the ethical issues arising out of the manipulation of life. The basic tenet was this: life was created by God. A cell has been created by God. It is not right to change the DNA sequence depending your whims and fancies using your recombinant DNA technology. So there was a big debate going on all around the world whether the recombinant DNA technology to manipulate a cell or plants or animals, is it morally right or not? And again, lots of discussion, even the 1979 World Conference on Faith Science and the Boston Conference also spent a lot of time on this issue. Tirumeni made again his stand very clear. The blame is not to be put on recombinant DNA technology. This is a question of the freedom of man. The recombinant DNA technology developed as the efforts of human beings, scientists in different parts of the world. It is the freedom of it's the freedom of man to use this technology for this purpose or the other. So recombinant DNA technology is not something to be banned and ridiculed, but this has to be utilized properly. So said the remaining made it very clear. This is a question of the freedom of man. It is not a problem of the technology. The technology has to be used in the right way. You see, there are several examples where the recombinant DNA technology played a very important role in take for example in agriculture. Disease resistance has always been a problem. You have a fine crop, then fine morning you see a disease spreads, everything is washed out, everything is gone. So disease resistance was always a prime objective in plant breeding in agriculture. And crops like wheat, barley, they play a very important role in feeding us, all of us. But then there are diseases which affect these crops. Traditional methods of plant breeding were not always helpful in solving the problem. And then somebody found that there is a disease resistance gene in a related crop, probably another grass. This gene could be taken out, dissected out using recombinant DNA technology and put into the wheat or to the barley. And then the plant which came out of it, they carried the character of resistance, in addition to all the other good things. So disease resistance breeding using molecular techniques, recombinant DNA technology, was helped us in our agricultural prospects in a big way. So Triveni made it very clear. You don't blame a technology. You think how best you can make use of the technology. Acha, I think this, of course, this discussion went on slowly to human genetic engineering, human DNA editing, and so on. But by that time, Thirimeni was no more there. But Thirimeni knew about all of these things. Thirimeni once told us a story from Russia. Probably half truth. They are trying to some company, some group was trying to develop humanoids, which are trained only to fight. Nothing else matters. Only take your gun and shoot. So you train a person through your technology to be a shooting equipment. So Tirumani said such possibilities are there, and one needs to be governments, church, institutions need to be careful about such deviations. Acha, thank you. I think I should have to stop it there.
World Conference on Faith, Science and Future, 1979 at MIT Boston, was a unique event in world history. Tirumeni played a dominant role in this conference, and you were also able to witness this great conference. Please share your thoughts about this occasion.
Acha, thank you for the question. You said it very correctly. This was a unique event in history, bringing, of course, there were 400 registered participants, but then all in all, there were around 1,000 people in the Boston campus. People from science, all religions, different faith backgrounds, and so on. And Tirumeni was the chief person behind it. Everyone knows that. Tirumeni made it very clear that before we come together in Boston, we hold a series of preparatory sessions in different parts of the world. And the first preparatory meeting was held in IIT New Delhi. The cream of the Indian scientists and people who are interested in the topic from different religious backgrounds were invited. It took about 4 days in IIT Delhi, and that was the beginning of it. And KM George and Reverend Dr. KM George and we were asked to join the Delhi meeting and listen to what is happening. That's what Tirumeni told me. Listen to what is being said so that you know what is coming. This was again followed by lots of preparatory sessions in different parts of the world. There was also a special students conference, a preparatory session immediately prior to the Boston conference. I was a student of genetics at that time in Göttingen in Germany. So I flew into Boston, attended the Students' Participatory Conference, and then attended the main sessions. It was really mind-blowing to see our Trimeni standing in the midst of all the big shots of the world, around the world and discussing problems meaningfully and carefully. The Boston conference was in a way a mammoth conference, 12 days, July 12th to 24th, 13 days. And there were 10 different sessions, 10 points of emphasis, which I can very briefly read so that you know. The 10 different sessions, the nature of science and the nature of faith. It's mostly philosophical also. Humanity, nature, and God, a very pet theme of Trimeni. Science and education. So proper education given in the scientific institutions is key to the implementation of what is coming to the world. Ethical issues in the biological manipulation of life. I spoke about it. It was a little disturbing to different part to the society that the life which God created on earth is now being manipulated using your molecular biology techniques to suit your purposes. And there was very strong debate, as I told you earlier, about the manipulation of life using recombinant DNA technology. And that session also was very well attended by the participants. The fifth was technology, resources, environment, and population. The sixth topic was energy for the future. This was again a very pet theme of theology. Tirumeni. Tirumeni was interested in energy as such. It is not that you sit in the air-conditioned comfort of your room and enjoy the benefits of energy, but you should also think of people who have none of these comforts. There is no energy to even to put on a light properly. So Tirumeni was always concerned, and Tirumeni's during those days, nuclear energy was also a big issue. Whether nuclear energy should be utilized or not, should it be banned or not? The World Council of Churches conducted a full consultation on the use of nuclear energy, and Tirumeni always took a mid path. We can use nuclear energy, but safeguards, proper safeguards should be taken, and so on. So energy for the future was the sixth session. Seventh, it was restructuring the industrial and urban environment. Eighth, economics for a just, participatory, and sustainable society. Again, a pet theme of Tirumeni. Several conferences were held under this theme, economics of a just, participatory, and sustainable society. And the ninth was science, technology, political power, and a just world order. And the last session, the 10th session during the theme, was towards a new social ethic and new social policies for the churches. So the discussion centered around these 10 areas, and reports have been prepared and published by the World Council of Churches. Detailed reports. Anyone who is interested can certainly look in a library which keeps such things. Acha, I think that's what I wanted to say about the Tirumeni was a chief man behind it, standing in along with the Nobel Prize laureates and people of different faiths and bringing them all together for a meaningful discussion. It opened our eyes in different ways, and I always thank God that we could be a part of it. Thank you.
So, what were your thoughts? What were your thoughts while reading and understanding the books written by Metropolitan Dr. Paulus Gregorius?
Acha, during the 1970s, 80s, I was a fan of Tirumeni's books. Whenever a book was published, I made it a point to procure it and read it almost like a textbook. I was going through some of them these days, and I found there were several underlines and markings in different pages. They were really, uh, really great books. I don't want to speak about those things, but I want to speak about two small things about the books. Tirumeni wrote a very small book, a book of prayer for young people. I don't know whether you know about this. It's available with MOC publications. The book was priced at 5 rupees during those days, and when I bought the first copy, I got 10% commission, so I got it for 4 rupees 50 paise during those days. I still keep it as a treasure. The book starts with the question, "What is prayer?" and a beautiful description of what prayer is. The first sentence is, prayer is like breathing. If you don't breathe, you die. That's how it begins. And all the kaumas, morning prayers, evening prayers, and so on. I was really attracted by some of the intercessions Tirumeni wrote there. See, I was a very young person, 21, 22, 23 years old. And for me, prayer was saying the kaumas and praying for your father, your mother, your family, your parish, your society, and all. That was all for me. Prayer was only that much for me. And Tirumeni on one occasion said, your prayer has to go beyond this. Not only for you and your family and your parents, for your church and your parish, your prayer has to go beyond this. And let me read one small intercessory prayer which Tirumeni wrote. I carried it in my pocket practically all my life while I was active. The prayer is like this. Oh God, we would pray at this time for all those who suffer, for all who are in want, for those who have no home, for widows and orphans, for refugees, for prisoners, for those who are in despair and on the verge of madness or suicide, for those who are tortured and persecuted, for the aged, for the sick, for those about to undergo operations in hospitals, for the hungry and the poor, for those against whom men discriminate on account of race or caste, and for all who have need for our prayers. It was a great eye-opener for me when I first read this, that you have to pray for refugees and for prisoners and for people who have nothing. And this is a great lesson which I learned. Of course, our parents, our achans, our church all taught this. But Tirumeni as a person made it very clear that you have to include this also in your prayer. And just similarly, I'm sure most of us know about the Tirumeni's book, The Human Presence. It has always been one of my most favorite books of Tirumeni, The Human Presence. And all chapters are interesting, really interesting chapters, not very easy to understand, but really interesting. And chapter 7 is probably the best of all chapters in this. The title is Mastery and Mystery. I got attached to this chapter because of a special reason. Tirumeni, while writing the manuscript of this book, was in Kottayam. And we had a meeting in Sophia Center of college teachers. And the topic was mastery and mystery, the same topic. Tirumeni was writing about it, and then Tirumeni told us. So I was fascinated by Tirumeni's presentation. Mastery is your mastery over the universe, your technology, your science, all those things. And mystery is your spiritual life, your prayerful life. And Tirumeni told us several things. It's not the time to go through this, but let me read a very small paragraph from this chapter 7, which I always enjoy. While reading about prayer, Tirumeni wrote this paragraph. A deeper level of the same reverent, receptive attitude is found in true prayer. Not prayer as another manipulative technique to control reality, but as self surrender and receptivity. Prayer in which repentance and self emptying are followed by self dedication and a willingness to be molded anew by the gladdening light. Not prayer as petition or even as intercession, not prayer for oneself, not for some other utilitarian purpose, but prayer as described by Richard Crashaw. I quote, Lord, when the sense of thy sweet grace sends up my soul to seek thy face, thy blessed eyes breed such desire, I die in love's delicious fire. Whenever I get an opportunity, I read and reread this chapter. Tirumeni ends this chapter with a beautiful statement. It's one line, beautiful statement. The mastery of nature must be held within the mystery of worship. Otherwise, we lose both mastery and mystery. This is also how Tirumeni concluded that session way back in end of 1978. So this is also a very favorite topic which I keep very close to my.
So, adding on to it, can you share your experiences uh, of translating the taxa into the German language?
Was a great blessing to us. Our professor there used to make it very clear. You are in a new country, learning a new language. Speak German better than the German students. That was when you give a seminar, make it a point that you present your seminar in German better than the German students. So this was also a great motivation. In fact, when I presented my first seminar, the professor stood up and said, "This is an example for our German students how to prepare a seminar and present a seminar." That was a great compliment to us. So we had love for the language, but the translation of the Taxa was done by Reverend Dr. Reggie Matthew. Reggie Matthew അച്ഛനാണ് ഈ translation ചെയ്തത്. I came in a bit later. There was a need for editing the text because Achan was busy with lots of other things. So the Taxa needed to be edited in German language. So we had a good friend in Göttingen, Professor Martin Tamke. Tamke said, "You do the preliminary work and send it to me. I will do the rest of it." So with Reggie Matthew Achan's permission, the preliminary editing was done by me. It was sent to Göttingen. And when Tamke takes up something, he does it 100% correct. He cannot do otherwise. He did it and sent back. So the editing was done by, that was during the Corona times. So I had to go to the press for the physical, because everything is in German. You cannot call over phone and say you make this correction. No, you can't. So I had to go there. I consider it a blessing that I had the grace and courage from God to go there, read through the whole thing. Reggie Matthew Achan and we did it together. The editing work was done by me, but the actual translation was done by Reggie Matthew Achan. And that was a collaboration, a friendship, which resulted in the Taxa. We are grateful to God. What we published 2 years ago is the Krubana Kramam, not the Taxa. So the Taxa, the work is now complete. We hope it would come out without much delay. Achha, I also wanted to just tell you one more thing. I told you about the Book of Prayer for Young People by Gregorios Trimeni. My wife and I, we translated this into German. It was published by the Faculty of Theology, Göttingen University. Gebetbuch für junge Menschen And thus, this won a lot of appreciation from the university circles there during those days. We thank God that we could do it.
So just adding on to it, was this translation work into German language anywhere related to Grigoris Sirveni?
This is Thirimani's prayer book.
No, no, that German that Kurbana Kramam translation that you gave a tribute to Tirumeni. Like, was it anything related to Tirumeni?
No,
No, no.
Thirimani was the one who initiated us into all these things.
Okay, okay.
Thirimani was not directly involved in the
Involved in it.
the
Yeah.
translation. Actually,
Fine.
the Taksa was translated from German to English, basically by Roger Matthew Achan during his doctoral studies there.
Studies
But then
there.
it couldn't be taken forward. It so happened that we came together and it worked out. It was like that.
So when was your last meeting with His Grace Dr. Paulus Gregorius?
That brings a little bit of tears to my eyes if I should say it, but I will say it. In 1996 November, the same time Tirumeni left for his heavenly abode, the International Genetics Congress was held in Delhi. So my wife and I, we both had paper presentation in the Congress. We knew that Tirumeni was not well. So we got permission to take a afternoon off, went to Delhi, the Orthodox Center. Tirumeni was lying down, and it was quite obvious, quite feeble, and his sound was also quite feeble. And he was really pleased to see us. Tirumeni asked us, "Why did you come to Delhi?" We said, "It's the International Genetics Congress. We had our paper presentation." Then everything changed. Tirumeni asked me to sit down on his bed. He was lying down, and it was hard for me to do that. Tirumeni is lying down. He was a rather sick person. Tirumeni asked me to sit down and asked me to explain what I presented, what my paper was about. I probably took 2 or 3 minutes to explain what I presented there. He made some very pertinent comments. Then he asked Annie to sit down and explain what she presented. Again, Tirumeni's comments. We were little bit sad that Tirumeni had to exert listening to this and commenting on this while he was not really well. But that was our last meeting. That was our last meeting, and we were traveling to Kottayam by train up 2 days. It's in the train while we were reading the newspaper that Tirumeni was no more. And it so happened that the Tirumeni's burial is not the word. In the seminary was a few minutes after we reached there. So we took an auto rickshaw from the Kottayam station, reached the seminary in time to have a last glimpse of Tirumeni. And we are eternally grateful to God that we could see Tirumeni once again. We stay very close to the seminary. So every Sunday we see Tirumeni. We spend a minute in silence in his presence and pray for his intercession and prayers.
In what ways can you mention the significance and influence of Tirumeni's presence in your life?
Acha, as I told you right from the beginning, I'm a very ordinary person, not the type of people who get in touch with a great personality like Tirumeni. And in Tirumeni's grace, even an ordinary, very ordinary person could go and speak to him. And there are certain things which we learned, my wife and I and our children learned from Tirumeni during the course of our interaction. One is honesty in life. This is very important for a research student. You cannot manipulate the data in the way you like. You have to be objective about it. You have to be honest about it. So this was one thing which Tirumeni told us very clearly. Your integrity in life, your honesty. It's not money that matters. It's nothing else matters. It's your integrity, your honesty in life that matters. Truthfulness. And as I told you earlier, the whole question of refugees. It was never in my mind at all prior to the 1970s, before I came to Tirumeni. Tirumeni once told us, look, there are people who have to leave everything, just like that. The terrorists come or some other group come and gives an order, leave the place. You take your bag and leave. What do you take with you? Tirumeni asked, I still remember, what would you take with you? If you can take a bag full of things. You leave your entire possessions there and leave. And live as a refugee in some other country at the mercy of others. Tirumeni always used to tell us, look, you have to pray for these people. And this is also a lasting in. So the question of refugees is very strong now, you know it, because of what is happening in Gaza now. Every time I listen to BBC and listen to this news, I remember Tirumeni, the way in which he felt for them, people who are displaced, who are refugees, who have nothing else to look to. And we try to keep that in our minds. So I have nothing big to say. Tirumeni taught us about the integrity of life, the need for truthfulness and honesty in life, the need for praying for others, especially for people who have nothing. And I think that's what we carry in our hearts all the way. Thank you, Acha. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable wisdom and insights that you have directly witnessed and received from the life of Tirumeni and is and rightly able to share with us.
Acha, thank you very much indeed. First of all, for asking me to join this group. I have been listening to some of these interviews, which you not all of them, some of which you did earlier. From everyone, there was a new face of Tirumeni emerging, something which you did not know. So listening to most of these interviews, which he could. Tirumeni was a multi-faceted personality. He could influence each one in different ways, and in that way, you are doing a great service to perpetuate the memory of Pavlos Mar Gregorios Tirumeni. People who listen to this, you propose to hold about 100 interviews in this. I'm sure that will be a great bank of information. It's not information. This is not information. This is the way how a person lived in our midst and who had concern and care for all the others. So this is really a great mission you are doing, and may God bless you and be with you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. ഒത്തിരി സന്തോഷം.